like to thank our sponsor today, South Jersey Federal Credit Union, and Ken Barnshaw, Senior Vice President, will come up and introduce today's speaker.
Thank you. South Jersey Federal Credit Union is proud to be today's sponsor. It's my pleasure to introduce or to present the Cape May County Freeholder Director, Gerald M. Thornton, for his annual Cape May County update. Gerald Thornton has many years of service on the Freeholder Board, having first served from 1976 to 1987 and returned to office in 1985, and serving as Freeholder Director since 2012. As Freeholder Director, Mr. Thornton oversees county government administration, clerk of the board, county council, emergency management information services, purchasing department, special projects, treasurer's office, and the Veterans Bureau. Additionally, Freeholder Thornton is a Freeholder liaison to the 9/11 Advisory Board, Board of Social Services, MUA, New Jersey Association of Counties, and many other offices. This past January, Mr. Thornton was sworn in as President of the Southern New Jersey Freeholders Association. Freeholder Thornton attended Kellogg College and the University of Maryland Overseas Extension. An 11-year veteran of the United States Air Force, Thornton attended many technical schools and non-commissioned officers academy. In November 2017, Freeholder Director Thornton was surprised with the honor of having the Cape May County Veterans Cemetery named the Gerald M. Thornton Veterans Cemetery. He is proud to be the husband to Linda, father of 4 children and 9 grandchildren. Please join me in welcoming Jerry, our guest speaker today.
Thank you, Ken, and I want to definitely thank Vicki Clark and all the members of the chamber here for inviting me today to represent the freeholders in the county of Cape May. First of all, I'll quickly just briefly go over our county budget, because that's one of the most important things that we do in the county. And I'll start off by saying we're in pretty good shape, ladies and gentlemen, in Cape May County. We're really doing well, and I have to honestly thank the staff. Many of them are here today: Beth Roselli, Mike Laffey. I think Jeff Lindsay's backed out, right? We got a new county council who's very busy, Jeff Lindsay. But, you know, we started working on this budget in October. Actually, probably the end of September, but October. And we just finished our last amendment just Tuesday, as a matter of fact, because what happens, grants come in and we have to amend the budget in order to address that. Our total budget this year is $152.6 million. The good news, and I mean good news, our ratables increased again this year, over $800 million. Dynamite. If you remember, starting in 2008, we kept losing ratables. We got down, we lost about $7 billion in ratables in that time. And last 3 years here now, we're probably up about $3 billion plus back. So we are climbing back, which is good news. Our tax rate is going to be increased 0.6% this year. We'll have either the first or second lowest tax rate in the state of New Jersey. We had a surplus this year that we used of $10.3 million, which is good business, and I'll thank all the department heads and our staff, because they didn't spend all the money we gave them, and it gave us surplus. And I can tell you, right around September, the senior staff is right on top of the department heads, saying, we're looking at your budget, because every other month we get a report of where those budgets are, and we don't allow those department heads, just because they have a surplus, to start spending it. And I can tell you that's a significant change from when it was many, many years ago, that in any bureaucracy, whether it's Cape May County, the state, federal, when they see they've got a surplus, I can tell you they run out real fast around October to spend it. And I tell you honestly, that's the way we stopped that. We have stopped that now for a long time. So you know, our budget, we just try to reflect the needs of our citizens and those that are vulnerable and underserved. And they all know when we do that, because the staff knows my philosophy. And I go 2%, 2%. Don't walk in here and give me a budget from any department that's more than 2%, and you better have a lot of justification. And so we really stayed there, and I never hesitated in that. So with all that, we have a lot of challenges here. We experience the same challenges as they do nationally, whether it's the state or the federal government, and we're not isolated here in Cape May County. We work on many, many fronts trying to protect us, and I will tell you that opioid drugs is not only a national crisis, but to be honest, it's a crisis in Cape May County. I will tell you, in the last seven years or so, we have increased our county prosecutor's office's budget over $5 million. And that $5 million increase is specifically almost 100% to address the drug problem that we experience trying to enforce that drug problem in Cape May County. And I'll tell you why. It's not like the old days when I had Health and Human Services and saw those numbers and alcohol and drug numbers and everything else. But the heroin today is much stronger than what it was, and it's much, much cheaper than what it was years ago. And another thing, it's so strong that people now can snort it. They're not sticking needles in their arms as much as they used to. Now, because of the strength of the heroin, they can actually snort it. And I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that's a real problem. And it's a crisis, not only in Cape May County, but throughout the nation. For that reason, I met with the assignments judge some years ago, about 3 or 4 years ago, and I'm a big supporter of the drug court, and so is the assignments judge. So the 3rd floor of our courthouse was vacant, so I told him he needed more court space. He told me he needed more court space, and I said to him, we'll take on the project, and we will refinish the 3rd floor of the courthouse, which we've done. That project is going to be probably close to about $3 million refurbishing that, but it's going to be for the drug court and give them court space. And I can tell you, one thing about the drug court, which I really, really support, is it's a disciplined program. Disciplined program. When somebody gets sentenced to the drug court, one of the primary things they have to do is find a job. They also have to show up every week, and every week when they show up, they're tested. They're tested. And if they test hot, the sheriff's officers handcuff them right then and there and take them to jail. And they will probably spend the next 4, 5, 6 days or so in jail because of that. And the next time they come back, it could be permanent. They could go back into county jail permanently. So again, and I can tell you from firsthand, having Health and Human Services for so many, many years and seeing so many programs and trying to help so many people, if you don't have a disciplined program, it doesn't work. So understand that. It just simply does not work, drug programs, unless they're absolutely disciplined. But you've got to do a lot of education. You've got to have the treatment facilities available, and you have to have those support groups. You have support groups, county hospital. I'll tell you what, county hospital is probably number one. They work with CAPE Counseling, CAPE Assist, and everybody else, and they deal with all those drug and alcohol problems, and with that, also the mental health problems. We decided many years ago to join alcohol, drugs, and mental health together, and we created one board. We were the first in the state to do that, and I took a lot of grief. But we all know that anybody has a drug, alcohol problem, they also have a mental health problem. And a long time ago, but the state threatened me and told me they were going to take our funding away, our alcohol and drug funding away, if I joined them together. I did it anyway. They didn't take our money, but guess today, the state has joined all those programs together, so they followed Cape May County. Homeland Security, and I'm going to say that to all you business people here. You're a part of this Homeland Security. Do not think that because we're little Cape May County that's way down in the southern tip of New Jersey, that we are not a soft target here, because we are. I just had conference in Ocean City last week. I don't know if some of you were there, about the terrorism with vehicles. And I can tell you that is a concern of ours. We meet once a month with the county prosecutor, with the EMS people, with fire, police, and we discuss the threats to Cape May County as far as terrorism. I'm going to say this, please. When you see anything that you think is suspicious or out of the way, please do not hesitate to call and report that. Even if you say, well, maybe it's kind of silly, I'm telling you now, I urge you to report it because it's really, really critical. Just be aware of what's going on. Another thing in the county of Cape May is homeless, and we work with the local organizations as far as the homeless. And I know you see a lot of this in the newspapers, and it's emotional, and it is. There's no doubt about it. But I will tell you, the county of Cape May doesn't want to see anybody homeless. We don't want to see anybody that's hungry, and we go out of our way to address those issues. Cape May County spends $1.3 million a year to address the homeless problem. $1.3 million. But I want to tell you where that money comes from. That money comes from the state and the federal government, and that we use their funds rather than using your money here in Cape May County. When we have to declare a code blue, which the county is responsible for through emergency management, and if you're not familiar with the parameters for code blue, it's 32% with moisture. If you have rain or snow and it's 32 degrees, then we have to declare a code blue. And if the temperature gets to 25 degrees, we have to declare code blue, which means we notify the municipalities, and municipalities then have to provide warming shelters for those individuals in municipalities. Now, here's what the county does with that homeless money. We have funding for social services homeless that we can provide motel rooms. Now, we get criticized for providing motel rooms for these people. It usually runs $50 or $60 a night, but it gets them off the street, it gets them warm, and if there's kids involved, it gets the kids warm. So that's why we do that. It's extremely important to do that. What we have to recognize here is many of the homeless, particularly those individuals, what we call those single people, they don't want help. I can tell you firsthand stories there. Recently, last summer, I went into Wawa down in Rio Grande, and the homeless guy was there in his wheelchair, who I knew that he was homeless because I've seen him. And I went right up to him and I said, "Hi, how you doing?" And told him who I was. I said, "How you doing? Let me take you down the road here," because social services was like, 2 blocks away. I said, "Let me take you down to social services. We'll get you evaluated and see what we can do for you." I can tell you straight out, he said to me, "I don't need your help. I don't need your help at all." He said, "I've got money in my pocket, and I don't need your help." I said, "Well, I understand you're in a tent." He said, "And that's where I want to be." And that's not the only case. Believe me, homeless people, when we give them a voucher for a motel room, they're required by regulation and law to show up the next day at social services to be evaluated so we can provide them with the necessary services that we think they're entitled to. I can tell you now, probably 80% of them never show up. Now, when they don't show up, then they're sanctioned. They're sanctioned, so then the next time they try to get a voucher, they're turned down. The only time they're not turned down is during a code blue situation, and then we'll find a place for them because we don't want them cold and we don't want them hungry. But after that, you can be homeless and you're not going to get a voucher. That's all there is to it. The other thing that we're working on here is our new projects. The correctional facility, that's almost done. That'll probably be finished in another 5 or 6 weeks. And that was absolutely necessary because we weren't in compliance with the federal and state law and regulations, and we were threatened with being closed. Although it was a very expensive project, $37 million project. We average more than 200 prisoners at any given time. If the feds or the state would have closed us, in order to house those prisoners and transport them back and forth, it would have cost the county an average of $12 million a year, every year. So that's why it was necessary to build a new facility. And it was very important to do that. And I'll tell you, quite frankly, and I'll speak for myself and my colleagues, there is no elected official that ever wants to build a jail. Do we understand that? Never. But I can tell you, it's absolutely necessary because it would have been worse for $12 million a year forever that we would have paid. So that's why we made that. Central Dispatch. The airport, Central Dispatch, is, as many of you know, we partnered with Lower Township because they were looking for a new police station, and we were looking for a new emergency management center. And we were looking all over the county, and anyway, I went down with Marty Palugi, the Director of Emergency Management, and I said, let's look at what they have down at the airport now for the police department. And anyway, this building was there. It was there, 15,000 square feet, but it had to be refurbished. Lower Township did not need it. So they were going to, a cost of about $6 million for them to build a new police station. It would have cost almost the same for us to build a new emergency management building. So what we did, we decided to join together, refurbish the building so that they get half of it for the police department. We get the other half for emergency management. The total for this project will be just around $5.5 million. So each one of us saved about $2.5 million apiece by doing it together and joining together. It was just good business. But another thing, the communications is so very important, and many of you would not know it because this is on the inside. The federal government came in some years ago and changed the number of the frequencies for the police departments, emergency management, and all these other. Some are working on VHF, some on UHF, and 700 megahertz now is the way to go. That's 700 megahertz, and I can tell you that system is outstanding. Those people we have changed in the county, including the county government, on 700 megahertz. As a test, we had our sheriff's officers up in Bergen County, and it was like they were across the street. That's how good that communication is. Now, as of yesterday, I just got a report from our emergency management that incident in that school in Parkland, Florida, one of the biggest problems that the police departments had was communication. They couldn't communicate with each other back and forth, and that was definitely one of the reasons why that response was delayed. And I will tell you what, and that's what we're afraid of here in Cape May County. But we're going to be finished pretty soon. And we already have Lower Township in. And I can tell you the direct saving to Lower Township by us taking their dispatch is $160,000 a year. And as those other municipalities come in, we've been working with all the municipalities. It's going to be a significant saving for everybody, and it's going to be more efficient, and it's going to be modern, all the modern equipment. So that's extremely important. County Airport, we're doing a lot of things at the County Airport. The Everland building, if you know that big building that's been there, that's been a nightmare for many, many years. And so that you know, that building was built with EDA, federal EDA money many, many years ago, 35 years ago, 200,000 square feet. We've had probably 5, 6 businesses, 7 businesses in there, and even with Arla County support, financial support, low rents, everything else, leases, long-term, they failed. They all failed. So, and there we were with a 200,000 square foot building. Well, now it's going to be demolished, and we're looking at a whole new process down there. And Freeholder Maury has several ideas, and with the board support, we've discussed it, and we're going to look at some long-term projects down at the airport, which we have been doing as far as jobs are concerned and projects. We're the leader here as far as testing drones. We've been doing very, very well, and I can tell you that drone business, I just hope and pray that we get some of those businesses at the airport, because it's a multi-billion-dollar business, and we have the space and the resources at the airport. Our airspace is outstanding, believe me, as far as testing these drones, and because we have light airspace, they can go right out over the bay or over the ocean without passing over any houses, to be honest. We have a way to do that, which the FAA likes a whole lot. So we've been working with FAA and Verizon. I know the Verizon people here. And I can tell you one thing we've been working with Verizon is cell phone communications. As many of you know, and I know firsthand, having responsibility for emergency management, when we have a crisis, a hurricane, snowstorm, or whatever, one of the problems we have is communications. Well, we've been testing with Verizon, and we put a drone up in the air that has the equipment on it, acts as a cell tower, so that even though the other towers, cell towers, may be down, we get it up in the air, we bounce our cell phone off that, our messages off that, and it works. And so far, it's very good within a 40-mile radius. Now, we've tested that twice. And let me tell you, that's a real positive asset for emergency management for the county of Cape May. So we've been working very, very closely with Verizon. They've been a very, very good partner with us. Some other programs, fare-free programs, we're trying to do some certain things, and Freeholder Hayes has been working on that. She talked to me the other day, trying to get some increased service at the county airport. And of course, I want to mention the Coast Guard community. And if you can, I ask again to look into the Coast Guard community. That's very, very important to us. We are only the second county in the nation to be recognized as a Coast Guard community. And that is really a big deal for us. It really is. And that Coast Guard base is very, very important to us and those recruits down there, so, and the staffing. So we've got to make sure that we take care of them. So, quickly, I want to congratulate all you, because I've got some of the figures here from what you do, and which is good how much you help the county. Our tourism industry is probably going to generate, 6.4, maybe a little more $billion this year in tourism dollars, thanks to all of you. We're showing a growth in our occupancy tax, which is up 4.5% from 2016. Cape May County generated $11.7 million in occupancy tax, which was up over $340,000. That's, again, contributed to all of you. Our ecotourism generates $600 million a year just in Cape May County alone. Can you imagine ecotourism? Bird watchers coming to Cape May, $600 million a year. When I saw that number some years ago, it was like 540 or something like that. I was shocked. I said, "You're putting me on. That's fake news." That's exactly what I said, but that's terrific. Our travel shows go all over the Mid-Atlantic region and to Canada, everything else. I just went up this week to the Flower Show just to see what we were doing up there at the Flower Show in Philadelphia. I can tell you, I was flabbergasted at the amount of people that were at our booth looking for literature for Cape May County. It was unbelievable. At that flower show, we gave out more than 200,000 pieces of literature. Can you imagine 200,000 pieces of literature supporting Cape May County? That's outstanding. And also, I'm going to compliment Diane Whelan, who our Director of Tourism, because she called me last week about 8 o'clock at night at home. And you know that thing they have in Times Square in New York City? Guess who got that? Cape May County Tourism. So we're going to get 113 days. Two times an hour goes across there. Three times an hour. 3 times an hour, right? And I can tell you, they got it. 1 million people a day will see that, and we got it for $10,000. What a deal! What a deal. That's the best deal I ever heard of, Cape May County and Chamber of Commerce. I'm telling you right now. That's terrific. I love it. So, yep. No, I'm really impressed with that. And another thing you probably don't realize, since 1984, because our fishing industry, which is the second biggest industry in Cape May County other than tourism, we have a revolving fishing loan in Cape May County. And we have more than 200 loans that have been given to commercial and recreational boat owners. We have more than $1.85 million outstanding in loan. This money originally came from the state. We received back in payments $50,000 monthly in payments on these loans. And we've only had default in all these years on one loan. Default on one loan in all these years. I'm really very proud. So, you know, and we loan these boats whatever they need for equipment and also safety equipment. And the terms are for $10,000 plus or up to 5 years if they need safety equipment. For safety equipment, it's $10,000 plus at a rate of 2% interest. So I can tell you, it's very, very positive. And again, and I'm just going to finally say, I want to thank Vicki Clark and the Chamber for how strong you were with this offshore drilling. Look at that out there. I want everyone to realize how important that pristine area in this beach is to us here. We have spent hundreds of millions of dollars for the Cape May County MUA over the years to protect that water out there, make sure that it's safe, and our numbers are outstanding. And now they want to put oil wells out here off the beach. Well, let me tell you something that's not mentioned about oil wells off the beach, because I had one person I want you to know in this county who's in favor of it and told me it would be a big boom to Cape May County and look what they would do for the airport because they have to supply these things and everything else. Well, I will tell you this. I will oppose this with everything that I have, and so will my board of freeholders, because what nobody's realizing here, they say, okay, we're going to put an oil well out there. It's going to be 20 miles or 30 miles out, and nobody's going to see it. I can tell you what you're going to see. You're going to see all those pipelines coming on shore. You're going to see all those pumping and transfer stations coming on shore. Many years ago, there was a proposal to put a refinery in Woodbine. Now, let's just imagine the impact that's going to have on Cape May County with all those oil trucks and everything else, and the environmental impact it will have on this county. One bullet we do have in our pocket, and Vicki Clark and I have been talking about this, and I will say it to the municipalities and also the county. We do have some authority and jurisdiction as far as planning and zoning goes. We can cause them a lot of headaches. The county can for those, anything they want to build along county roads, municipalities, anything they want to do in those towns. So I will just tell you right now, we will get with the municipalities, and if any oil wells are built out here, they're going to have a major headache because we're going to do everything possible we can to protect our business, our tourism, and our environment, and that's all there is to it. And I will say this over and over again. They've got a glut in oil, and why are we going to take our oil so we can sell it to somebody else? Now, this is just nonsense. So, but Vicki, thank you, and thank the Chamber for all your support, because I can tell you this could be a tragedy for us. I'm just not talking about an oil spill. That would be devastating. But just the impact it would have onshore will never go away. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Thank you for all your support and everything you do for the County of Cape May. Thank you very much.